welcome to another episode of League of Knowledge with Panta Dragon. I'll be your host, Panta Dragon. See how that makes sense? But anyways, today we'll be doing an analysis and guide on the rework Skarner. On the previous two videos I said opinion and guide, but I just realized it was more of an analysis than an opinion. Anyways, with all that being said, let's get started. Alright, so we're going to be talking about Skarner's new passive. A lot of people don't like this at all. They think without the spires he's very weak, but that's why I'm doing an analysis to prove that he's not that weak without these spires. Also, I'm going to be a hipster and not go with the majority of the crowd, and say I do like this change since it adds a new element to a champion. But anyways, enough about my opinion, let's talk about the actual skill. So Skarner sets up 6 spires on the Summoner's Rift. 2 of them in your jungle, 2 of them in the river, and 2 are in the enemy's jungle. When you capture them, you get 15 gold or 30 split among teammates. So you're rewarded as much as, like, say, taking out a site ward. It also reveals the area around them for 1.5 seconds. But this is why Skarner wants these points captured. When he's around the area of a captured spire, he gains 100 movement speed, a lot of attack speed, and restores 3% of his maximum mana per second. He also gains these bonuses if he stuns someone with his E or he uses his R. Alright, so regenerating 3% of your maximum mana per second when you're around the area of a spire means you don't need mana items since this is going to be your sustain. Having more attack speed means he's going to be a very good duelist and also makes his clears pretty fast. And having the extra movement speed means he gets faster clears, can escape from the enemy quicker, and just have extra mobility. So basically when he's under these effects, he becomes really strong. If he's not under these effects, he's like pretty mediocre or average. And so what ends up happening with this passive is he becomes a really good control jungler. So if you want to go into the enemy's jungle, you can duel them very easily with the attack speed, and if the enemy is trying to collapse on you, then you can escape with the movement speed plus your W. So it's going to be very hard to invade a Skarner who has his spires up, or if he wants to control your jungle, then it's going to be very hard to contest that area. And again for Baron and Dragon. So if he gets ahead, he can solo the game fairly easy with his new passive. Also, if anyone captures a point, you can see it on the minimap so you know there is someone in that area. So with that in mind, sometimes you don't want to give away your position and might skip capturing a point. Anyways, adding this new Dominion minigame for Skarner is definitely something new and makes Skarner interesting, so I like the change. Oh, and he's not underpowered if he doesn't have the power of the Spire. And I'll be explaining you why throughout the video. Next up, let's talk about his new Q. Okay, so this is why I think a lot of people are saying that he's underpowered. People are maxing out this skill. As you can see, the base damage is removed and it scales off your total AD. And as you level it up, you only get 6% more AD scaling on it. So that's really bad until you have some AD, which is gained by levels or building items. Also, the cooldown at max rank is 2.5, but that's not enough, of course, to max it out first. But all that means for Skarner to his previous iteration means he's much more stronger in the mid game and late game. And also having total AD scaling, of course, scales with levels since you gain AD per level, so definitely much more stronger in the mid game and late game. Also, since it scales with AD, this means Skarner will have more AD scaling, so he can build like, you know, AD Skarner. There's also AD scaling on his ultimate, but we'll get to that later. And you could go full AD Skarner, which is pretty fun, and you'll see some clips later in this video. But yeah, it opens a lot of build paths for him. For instance, there's this new item called the Titanic Hydra, which is actually really good on him, and definitely Black Cleaver is much more better on him. By the way, when you auto attack a monster, it only reduces it by 0.25 seconds instead of 0.5. Overall, compared to his old Q, this is definitely weaker in the early game, but it scales better into the mid game and late game. Next up, we'll be talking about his W. As you can see, the only thing that has changed is the way his W's shield works now, since it only scales off your maximum % hit point. Roughly at level 1 you do have the same amount of shield, but putting points into it you only get 1% more scaling on it, so it's not that great to level up either. And because of that, it's a skill I max out last. Although like Q and to his previous iteration, definitely scales much better into the mid game and late game because of the maximum % health scaling. This skill also encourages you to buy health instead of going 40% CDR, as old Skarner loved going 40% CDR since you can just spam his shield. Do remember that 40% CDR is still good on him though. Next up, let's talk about his new E that makes him very, very strong. So compared to the old Skarner, it's basically the same thing, there's some new add-on effects. First up, they up the cooldown on it by 1 second, but of course that's to compensate for some things coming to this skill. First off, his old passive is now added to this, and all you have to do is hit the enemy once with this skill and auto attack them. and then you'll stun him for 1 second. Then you'll do bonus damage also, so it's very easy to change to CC. It also does additional damage if you stun it, so that's pretty good, and it scales by 25 damage per level. Adding that your E does 35 damage per level, you get 55 damage per level, which is definitely super strong since a lot of champions do not have something like this. So they'll probably nerf this ability because of that in terms of damage. And finally, for the last part that's added to the skill, it now goes down by 1 second whenever you proc the E, or if you use your ultimate, you reduce it by 1.75 seconds. So instead of it being an 11-second cooldown, it's actually going to be 8.25 if you're in a team fight. But if you add 40% CDR to this ability, it's now 6.6 minus 2.75, which is 3.85. But remember, during that time, you actually CC'd them for about 2.75 seconds. So now your cooldown is at 1.1 second, and if you want, you can add the travel time when you casted your E and just chasing down the enemy who is slowed. And it'll most likely be up by that time. So yeah, you basically have a 3.75 second stun combo with a 2.5 slow. Oh, but wait, remember, your E is AoE, and you can hit multiple targets to reduce this cooldown by more than 1 second. So yeah, this skill is really strong. And that's why I labeled the commentary as Skarner is OP, because I actually did think he was super strong. Next up, let's talk about his ultimate. So the only thing that really changed is now it scales with total AD. Base damage is lower to compensate for that, of course, and overall does more damage. They also removed the effect where it would consume his old passive stacks to do extra damage, but no one really ever did that, and it was a waste since you wanted to get the stun. Biggest change, of course, is now it does mixed damage. So 200% of your total AD will be dealt in physical damage, while the base damage will be magic damage. With all of his other abilities doing kind of mixed damage, he's really good with Hybrid Pen. Oh yeah, you also have to consider the fact that with his new passive, you get 100 movement speed, so you can drag enemies faster to your teammates. And again, with his ability scaling with AD, you can build full tank AD Skarner if you want. Overall, it's a pretty good buff. Alright, so let's talk about his item build. So I like to go Cinder Hulk into Black Cleaver or Titanic Hydra. Then I like to emphasize on building hit point and resists. If you want to build damage, just get the other item that I mentioned earlier. Also, for the enchantment, you could go Skirmishers, that's also viable. And if you do go Titanic Hydra, make sure to pick up a Frozen Heart so that you get 40% CDR at max level. And the way to differentiate from these two items is that you should build Black Cleaver if you have a lot of AD on your team, but if you just want to do physical damage for yourself, get the Titanic Hydra. The Titanic Hydra is good for champions who scale with health, scale with AD, and champions who have a lot of attack speed. I think we have a winner here. Probably go this item. It's also apparently really strong, so you might want to prioritize this even more than Black Cleaver. Dead Man's Plate is also going to be pretty good on him too, since you build momentum and have more movement speed, and you're trying to get into the enemy team. Next up, let's talk about runes and masteries. For runes, I take Hybrid Pen Reds, 2 attack damage quints, 1 armor quint, health yellows or health per level, it's up to you, and CDR per level blues. I take physical damage in the quints because I think the AD value of the quint is really good, and also since you have a lot of attack speed, it doesn't hurt to help those autos hurt more. As for masteries, I do go 16-14. This is where I get the armor to make up for having no armor yellows. So right here, a total of +9 armor from runes and masteries. For skill order, I will go Q and then W and then E, then prioritize R over E over Q and then W. If I'm going full tank though, that's a different story, and I'd prioritize W over Q. Alright, so let's talk about his playstyle and final opinion. I feel like he's definitely going to be more of a control jungler. He's going to go into the enemy's jungle and try and lock him down, as he's very strong on these spires and can zone off the enemy jungler. If he's not around the spires in the early game, he does feel a bit weaker, but his ganks are definitely much more stronger, as you can proc the stun instantly instead of having to build 3 stacks of your old passive. In teamfights, he does a lot more damage than he used to, and he's definitely going to have a lot more CC since the cooldown of his E is pretty damn short. And definitely these spires are going to give him a lot of objective control, so he can snowball the game harder if he's winning. And I will say that he's going to be probably one of the top 5 best junglers as of patch 5.16. Oh yeah, and I theorize that Titanic Hydra is going to be really strong on him. So yeah, thanks guys for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know your opinion of what you think of the new Skarner, and I'll see you guys next time.